right, so let's get into it. I'm here at the NBA Summer League, 2K26 Summer League at the place I attended, UNLV's Thomas and Mack. Shout out to the Running Rebels. But let's get into it about Shakur and Sugar Ray Robinson. So I'll first start by saying Shakur, like everybody else, is more than entitled to his opinion. And of course, being a 3-division champ, can say what he wants about whatever it is boxing related. I personally disagree with him to start. I think Sugar Ray Robinson is the GOAT. He's still the fighter I look at as the most complete fighter and best fighter in boxing history, pound for pound. I think when you look at his tape, he's 5'11", almost 6 foot at 147 and 160, and that was back in the days when you had to weigh in the same day as the fight. So he still holds up as a big welterweight. He'd be bigger than any welterweight now, and as big as basically any middleweight now. And these guys are rehydrating a lot more. He had some of the fastest hands in boxing history. He might be the greatest combination puncher in boxing history. If you looked up in a dictionary how to clean up with the left hook, which would never be in a dictionary, but if it was, how to clean up a combination with the left hook, it'd be Sugar Ray Robinson after a 10-punch combination, throwing a left hook, capping it off, probably knocking someone's dick in the dirt. So, size that holds up, some of the fastest hands ever, deadly knockout power in both the left hook and the right hand, and one of the greatest uppercuts ever, and one of the greatest right hands to the body ever, and along with Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes, I think nobody was ever as clean turning fighters to their strong side, in this case their left, behind the jab, and just dominating behind the jab. And you don't see a lot of fighters dominate behind the jab like you did those three. And then out of the southpaw stance, the guy that equals those three, Holmes, Ali, and Robinson, is Pernell Whitaker, who would go to his right instead of his left, because he's southpaw, dominate guys off the jab. And to Shakur's point about evolution in boxing, I think part of why you don't see guys dominate off the jab as much, a lot of fighters are growing up looking up to Floyd Mayweather, who had a great jab, especially probably the best stab jab to the body. But Floyd's money punch was the right hand, the lead right hand or the pull right hand. And the pull right hand has a lot of fighters are focusing on that right hand over the top of the jab, so you see less of the jab. And I liken it a little bit, this whole evolution argument Shakur has, I liken it a little bit to Steph Curry, which that's perfect. I'm covering the NBA, right? Steph Curry, well, and before him, with the 7 seconds or less Suns, it basically as the game began to explode with three-point shooting, and Steph Curry sealed that change. You saw less and less post players. You saw less and less players play back to the basket in the paint. And so kind of similarly in boxing, ever since the pull right hand has become the weapon of choice over the jab by guys like Shakur and Devin, who both have excellent jabs, but they don't jab as often as fighters used to. They're looking to counterpunch more and slow down the pace, as opposed to work the jab, doubling it up, tripling. I mean, Devin did that on the way up, and Shakur did it on the way up, but they've done it less and less at the championship level. So just as the jab is kind of faded, so too is the back to the basket game in the NBA. But with evolution comes pros and cons, like in society, right? I now could just use a GPS to go anywhere. So the pro is I can get around the city easier than anybody who lived 30 or 40 years ago. The con is without said GPS, you're relying on my own brain. I don't know where the fuck I'm going compared to people 30 or 40 years ago. So I lost something in my evolution through technology. So like, let's take Shaquille O'Neal for an example. Let's pretend Shaq or Wilt is Sugar Ray Robinson. Sure, Shaq and Wilt would struggle with 7-footers that can shoot from the three-point line. There would have to be an adjustment period to that, right? But at the same time, nobody would have an answer for them in the paint. Now, Draymond Green, all those guys, they cannot guard Shaquille O'Neal or Wilt Chamberlain in the paint. So same thing with Sugar Ray. Yeah, maybe he struggled with certain stances, certain looks that have evolved since in boxing, but just like more than even when Shaq played, guys would today be barbecue chicken in the paint. In punching range, not long range, not guys on the move, but once it's really time to fire in the pocket, that would be barbecue chicken for Sugar Ray Robinson. And I pick Sugar Ray Robinson still to this day, even fresh out of Time Machine, without getting any PEDs or getting to take any modern day supplements or modern day training. I still think he'd beat everybody at 147 and 160. 154 got some really good fighters, you know. I still think he beat them too, but I'm saying even though I like Brian Norman Jr., I'm saying without a hesitation, Sugar Ray still cleans 147 and 160 up today. When we're talking about hypothetical matchups that would need a time machine, what rules are we playing by? Because if Steph Curry has to be hand-checked like it's the 1990s and 1980s, it's going to be a lot harder for him to get his shit off, to get his three-pointers off. But if they're playing with modern rules where you can't touch anybody, they're the ones that are going to have to adjust. So same thing with what Shakur's talking about. Are we talking about fighting Sugar Ray Robinson in today's boxing in 15 rounds in the gloves they used to fight in? Because if they are, Shakur's hands probably don't even hold up for 15 rounds wearing the gloves they used to wear back in the day. You know what I mean? So that's just one point I gotta make. The point I really want to make about Shakur is a point I made about Caleb Plant when he lost to Armando Resendiz about a month ago. And I make this joke of, I used to call them the boxing gods, but I don't want to be blasphemous, so I call them the boxing angels. And Sugar Ray Robinson has to, along with Ali, has to be as important as angel looking over us in the boxing world as we possibly have. And Plant kept talking about stepping on Resendiz, and it's fight talk. You talk about whipping another man's ass, I get that, but there was a disrespectful, dismissive kind of taste to how Caleb went about stepping on Resendiz that I made a joke after he lost. I said, you know, coming to the arena, I had a feeling the boxing gods weren't going to like that, the boxing angels. And I don't think that comment about Sugar Ray Robinson, it probably doesn't bode well for the boxing angels. I still am going to pick Shakur, but even before he made that comment, I felt Zepeda was undervalued in that fight with his volume and everything he brings to the table with that volume. Now you put it in addition to talking about Sugar Ray, and that brings me to a point. It shows that recency bias. A lot of fighters like Shakur now, Floyd and Terrence Crawford, that's it. And Floyd Mayweather, I've made this joke on my channel a number of times. Floyd, and I'm not some Floyd Mayweather hater, he is, in my lifetime, I was born in 91, the best fighter I've seen in my life, up close. I didn't get to see Roy Jones in the 90s, I was too young. So between Pacquiao and Bernard, and even guys like Inoue and several others, but Floyd is the best. So I say that, I give him that every time. But he's like, to guys like Shakur, he's like the New Testament of boxing. He everything that came before him is now null and void and canceled out by the New Testament called Floyd Mayweather. Shakur's disrespect kind of runs parallel with Floyd's disrespect of Muhammad Ali. The way Shakur kind of disrespect, he called Sugar Ray Robinson Buns, and I get it. He was in a conversational tone. He has more respect for Ray Robinson than that. But I gotta put you on blast for this, Shakur. I gotta bring this up now. I was getting ready to cover Valdez versus Burchell in the bubble, February 2021. I remember interviewing Shakur. I finished the interview, and I say, hey, bro, you ever seen Hopkins versus Trinidad? Because we're talking about old fights and old fighters. And when he said no, and he told me, I don't really study Bernard like that, it made me think to myself, like, then I don't know. Do you study it the way you say you do, or is it just a bunch of Floyd Mayweather? Is the only guys you really give credit to before Floyd Mayweather Sugar Ray Leonard and Purnell and maybe Duran if you're looking for an aggressive fighter before the Floyd Mayweather era? Because if you're the student of the game that Shakur says he is, and I'm sure he is, how do you not, first of all, not watch Hopkins Trinidad and then not know it for the masterpiece that it is? I remember he said he thought Bernard was a little sloppy compared to guys like Floyd. No, he's not as athletic as Floyd. He had to make up for it with other tricks that everybody could learn from. So to the boxing angels point, how fitting would it be for Stevenson to lose and have his big picture perspective on boxing shook up by losing to a fighter like Zepeda, who in the modern narrative isn't as skilled as he is, even though people like to neglect punch output and effective aggression. Like, that's not skillful, just like outboxing your opponent, taking advantage of him coming in is. It's all skill, front foot, back foot, and it's about whose skill can be executed the best. So it would be kind of fitting if while looking at Sugar Ray and his whole era of boxing as, like JJ Redick said about basketball, like they're all plumbers and everything, it'd be fitting if he got out-hustled by a guy who's not considered the most skilled. I guess to sum up the evolving thing, the evolution thing, again, things get better but get worse at the same time. In the NBA, is your average player more skilled, has a better handle, and can shoot from a farther distance than your average player 30 or 40 years ago? Yes. It's probably a similar sentiment in boxing. Fighters on average have quicker hands and are a little sharper and a little harder to hit today. Maybe. I'd have to, like, really deep dive into that and compare everything, but perhaps that is true as well. But all of these sports, boxing, NFL, NBA, they're all getting less physical, not more physical. The NFL, you can hit players in less and less ways every couple of years. The NBA removes hand checking. There's less physicality and banging in the paint. And same thing in boxing. The punch output is lower than ever. Muhammad Ali threw 72 punches in the 14th round against Joe Frazier in their first fight. Hardly anybody at that level throws 72 punches in the middleweight division, the welterweight division. He threw 72 punches in the heavyweight division in the 14th round after eating 1 million body shots and headshots by heavy-handed, one of the greatest punchers ever, Joe Frazier. So, yeah, maybe Ali was a little bit easier to hit once he lost his legs than fighters were now. But fighters on it, I remember Devin Haney, to his credit, he was once talking with Darren Cunningham in the gym, and rest in peace, Mike McCallum was helping them in the gym that day. And I remember they were looking at I think they were looking at Mike. They went back and watched Mike's fight, and Devin and Darren said, "Man, old school fighters back then, and they got a belt. You had to kill that, you know what, to take that belt off of them." Word I can't repeat. So, yeah, man, they threw more punches, they took punches better, and part of the shots that you think they were getting hit with clean back then, they really weren't. They weren't worried about shots on the top of the head because their chin was always tucked, and they double up behind it. Both fighters back in the day used to come out with the jab, doubling it up, tucking their chin. Yeah, some of it was hitting them on the top of the head, but they weren't worried about that. They weren't worried about that. And now the evolution of the game, instead of both fighters coming out with the double jab, they're looking to pull over the top of the jab. So that slowed the pace down. Things change in boxing. But I don't think disrespecting the GOAT is good karma, is good juju from the boxing angels heading into Saturday night. Might not matter. Might school's the paper. At which point I'll give him his praises. By the way, to all the dick riding fans in boxing, let us objective observers give credit to guys like Zepeda. So if your boy Shakur beats the shit out of him, then he beat the shit out of someone good that was getting propped up as a good fighter. Because if all you do is trash him the whole time, then why do you want us to give him so much credit after he wins? So we'll see. Looking forward to the fight. I'm not dragging Shakur for his opinion. I just think it kind of is standard fare for the last generation or two. My generation too is a millennial. Them and Gen Z. I can't remember how many kids I grew up with when I was listening to Tupac and Grandmaster Flash and rock and roll, going back to the Doors and Jimi Hendrix, and doing my homework, and not doing it to be different, just doing it because I like good music, I like good art. Same thing in boxing. I don't say Sugar Ray's the GOAT to be performative. I genuinely think that man that was 5'11" with knockout power and blazing hand speed, both hands, combinations, heart, 15-round stamina, one of the best jabs ever. Yeah, there was probably certain shit he'd have to tighten up now, but he would. And I don't know. That's my take on it. We'll see what we get Saturday night. Stevenson, Zepeda, may the best man win. My Mount Rushmore of boxing is not easy, but I keep kind of coming back to the Mount Rushmore being Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali. Those are the two shoe-ins. After that, Henry Armstrong comes to mind, Floyd comes to mind, Pacquiao comes to mind, Leonard comes to mind, Joe Louis comes to mind, Duran comes to mind. I just know that Ali and Robinson are the shoe-ins. The other two can be debated for the next several decades. So, from the Summer League, it's your man, Sean Zittel. Keep it locked in on the channel. Peace.